is Cruise Control. Your on-air automotive magazine with co-hosts Fred Staub and Les Jackson. Everything you need to know about new and used cars. Industry news. We'll fix or repair your car on the air. Fasten your seatbelts and let us take the wheel. Now, your ride is about to begin. Because you're on Cruise Control. Cruise Control. Cruise Control.
Well, hello everyone. Yes, your ride is about to begin, and what a ride it's going to be. Welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine, and of course you know us. I'm Les Jackson. That guy right over there is Fred Staub, and Fred, what do you think? Is there just a whole new industry going on?
Yeah, a lot going on, Les. We've got stories from Acura, Kia, Nissan, and we are even going to take a little walk down memory lane with one of the oldest factories in the U.S., and that is the Ford Chicago assembly plant. So we're starting this hour with Acura doing its, reveal of an electric concept. And we don't have many pictures of it, but that's what we got.
Absolutely, and good news if you're a Kia or Hyundai owner. All those who are, raise your hand. Thefts are declining, and I don't have that problem because I have all my stuff in a Faraday box. I'll tell you what that is later.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good news, Les. And Nissan has an idea that could reduce the temperature in your vehicle, which is pretty cool. Literally pretty cool.
That is cool.
As much as 21 degrees lower in your car.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we'll talk about it.
We will do that. And I just love this. We're going to have our friend Ted Ryan, Heritage Brand Manager for Ford, join us later. He's going to have history on the Ford Chicago assembly plant turning 100 years old. I watched a whole series of car plants gearing up in World War II on YouTube. It's incredibly fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. We always like having Ted on, and he has access to all the files and all the history. So Ted will be by in a little bit, and there'll be plenty more, because there always is, because you're on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine, Fred Staub and Les Jackson. We also are going to get to an interesting story where somebody got ticketed for taking a Subaru on a trail, and he was told that's not a four-wheel drive vehicle. That's an all-wheel drive vehicle, although Subarus do very well off-road. So we'll kick that around and see what you think about that. But that's all coming up on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. And we're going to have a lot to get to also in the second hour. We're going to talk about the Hyundai Santa Fe, which is a great vehicle. And we'll tell you about that when we come back on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Stay tuned.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staub and Les Jackson, we are with you and taking you on a ride around the automotive industry. And reveal coming up, Les, at least a reveal of a concept from Acura. It's going to happen during the Monterey Car Week. It's a next-generation all-electric Acura model, a segment-defying sport utility vehicle. How's that? That's dynamically styled.
You wrote that, didn't you?
No, I just read it. But, we don't know too much about it other than we can see the back of it. And, I guess it looks dynamically styled.
It looks rather sleek.
Yeah,
what we see.
Yeah. We do have information, though, on another vehicle on the Acura lineup, and that is the Acura RDX, which has been redone for 2025 with sophisticated new styling, cabin updates, and enhanced technology, Les Jackson.
And a frameless Pentagon grille.
A frameless Pentagon grille, yes. The functionality of a center console enhanced with increased storage and easier access to the wireless smartphone charger. There's a new widescreen mode added for standard wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. So there you have it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the RDX has been a very, very good vehicle for a long time.
Yeah.
Not exciting, but good.
But steady. Turbocharged 2-liter VTEC 4 cylinders is what powers it up. 272 on the horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque. Pretty amazing numbers from a production 2-liter Turbo 4. Super handling all-wheel drive, and driver-focused cabin with available open-pore wood. I don't know how open-pore wood is driver-focused, but it doesn't matter. It looks nice. Acura Ionic Drive ambient lighting, part of the technology packages, offers 27 unique lighting color combinations, including 24 inspired by iconic driving destinations around the world. That's pretty funny. But there you have it.
What do you suppose the color is for Siberia?
I would say stark white. You know those LED light bulbs that are stark white?
Yeah, dirty white.
Dirty white snow is what it will what it will do. And then the standard Acura Watch suite of advanced safety and driver assistance technology, blind spot information system, lane departure, lane keeping, traffic sign recognition. You know, all the good stuff that we're seeing a lot more of. Do you think over the years Acura has differentiated itself enough from regular Hondas? We used to say it didn't.
I still don't think it does. I just don't see much difference.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll put that out there to our listeners. Do you think that Acura... Lexus is noticeably different than Toyota, I think, in many cases. Although there have been Toyotas that come very close to being a Lexus without being a Lexus, not having the badge.
Right.
But does the RDX differentiate itself from its Honda counterparts enough? Let us know. Let us know in the comments. Sure, it's a great vehicle. It's a quality vehicle. It has a large Acura logo on the nose, an incredibly large Acura. I love how it's parked in this deserted place that says onion rings.
Yes. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, it's like I came here in the middle of the night to get onion rings and they were closed. Maybe that's it. But who knows? But yeah, it's definitely one of the biggest logos on the front of any vehicle out there, I would say. Which I don't know, looks a little upsized for my taste.
Yeah.
But good news, Les. Kia owners and Hyundai owners, of course. Remember, there were those folks online that were stealing Kias and Hyundais, and both Kia and Hyundai responded with anti-theft software.
Right.
60% of the eligible vehicles now have that software update, and we'll tell you a little bit about how it has decreased the thefts when we come back on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staub, Les Jackson. We will be right back.
Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control. Well, we were talking about Hyundai and Kia. And as people remember, a few years ago, they had a lot of break-ins thanks to the internet and some
Dirtbags.
rather criminal hackers. They figured a way you could talk to the car, actually just break in. The software has significantly cut out the possibility of stealing the cars. It's down to like 64%. But Hyundai and Kia are warning owners, you got to lock them. lock. I mean, a lot don't lock their cars.
Yeah, yeah, I know that. I always locked it. Even when I fill up with gas, I will lock it and just keep the driver's door open, but that prevents someone from coming in the other side of the car, or slows them
I've
down.
never thought of that. Um, I, I,
I
I
mean, you
don't
can't.
do that. I've never seen anyone do that, but
Yeah, it's
yeah,
common where people would have things sitting on the seat, maybe a handbag or something like that,
yeah,
and
yeah.
somebody walks between the cars at the filling station and opens the door. You're on the other side. You're filling. Maybe you're looking at the meter, the pump, and then they walk off with something.
Or you don't lock it. You fill it. You go inside to use the restroom.
Oh yeah, and they help
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah.
Um, so good thing on this software. I would urge anyone that has been told to get it put on their car to get it put on their car. Primarily, this was the non-push button start vehicles, right? That this affected, I believe.
Right, right.
Yeah, key. Uh, you were talking a little bit about Faraday cages, and I've heard this is a good thing because some thieves will go in and they can basically use a repeater to pick up
Which
the,
is
the low signal from your fob, which is
cheap,
always there.
cheap on the internet.
Yeah,
This is all cars. If you have a keyless fob, most people keep it in the front door. In
yeah,
the
hanging on
hallway,
a nail. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and they can just go right up and read the signal right through your door, right through your wall. So, like we do, if we have a table in the entrance foyer, I have a Faraday box that I made, and where I always keep the wallet out of sight and the keys.
Yeah,
Pop it in there, and its signal can't be read.
yeah, yeah. They sell these. They're pretty cheap. You can get them as a
Cheap,
bag or as a box, and it's cheap insurance. Why not? And you always know where your keys are. Then they're always in that bag.
exactly.
And you can put a bunch of keys in there, right? Fobs. It
Oh
doesn't.
yeah, I have
It's not
two
like one.
fobs.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
wallet.
a great idea. There's that place that begins with A. On you go online, they sell stuff like that.
I have heard of that.
Probably
In
cost you
fact,
what, $5, $10, something like that.
I think yeah, about $6, and you get two little Faraday pouches to put your fobs in if you're carrying them in your bag or suitcase.
It's apparently relatively easy to get to that signal, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah. So, and it's RF, so it can be intercepted for sure.
Yep.
Hey, let's talk a little tech. Where Les and I live in our neck of the woods, it's been hot lately, and that means when you get in your car that's sitting outside, it's incredibly hot, isn't it?
It's 140, 145 degrees.
R-
Can't touch the wheel.
right. Can't touch the wheel. Can't and your air conditioning has to work very hard. I always open the window first to let the hot
Same,
air out,
yeah, same here.
help it a little bit. Well, there is an embedded metamaterial in paint that can help lower cabin temperatures and reduce energy use, taking out the summer heat. And this is what Nissan's looking at. They've been trialing some paint that would basically cut the temperature in the vehicle by 21 degrees. Isn't that crazy?
It's a lot. It's a lot, but uh, still, you can't cut all of it because obviously because the windows, transmit heat.
That's true.
But the actual outside temperature of the car, and of course, if you paint your car white, it helps a lot.
It helps a lot. And they've been trialing this in a 12-month feasibility trial in the Tokyo International Air Terminal. It's a company called Radicool Japan. And they are basically saying that it's showing some good results. It is, as you said, similar paint to what people use on rooftops, but that they had to make it sprayable because they couldn't spray that. That was thick stuff that you put on with a mop or whatever. So this new technology could really, when you think about it, cut the time it takes to cool a car that's been sitting out in the sun for a long period of time. Airport's a good place to check it because cars do sit outside in long-term parking, and temperatures get very high. So I find it pretty interesting. Will they be able to make it in other colors besides white, or will everyone have to drive a white car, though? What do you think?
I guess eventually they will, but it'll take some serious chemistry.
Yeah. They've evaluated a thickness of 120 microns for the paint, which is approximately 6 times thicker than the typical automotive paint, and have confirmed resistance to salt, chipping, peeling, scratches, chemical reactions, along with color consistency and repairability. So testing is ongoing, but seems pretty smart to me that this could be something you might see in a future car. Especially maybe it's just the roof, even, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So it's also, think about that. It's if you live down in Florida or something like that, where it can get as high as what inside cars?
Yeah, it is remarkable if you just walk through a parking lot and just touch the fenders of dark cars versus white cars. It's remarkable how much difference in temperature they are.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see if this becomes something that becomes the norm in the auto industry. Certainly the technology will be used elsewhere, and it is there are a lot of buildings that are painted white for this reason, and rooftops that are painted red for this reason. So hey, when we come back, we're going to take a walk down memory lane and talk about the Ford Chicago assembly plant. It is getting ready to celebrate its 100th anniversary. They build Ford Explorers there and Lincoln Aviators, and it's got quite the history. So who best to talk about that but Ted Ryan, the Ford Heritage Brand Manager. He'll be bringing us some history on the plant, some of the unique things that it built throughout the years, and I'm sure he'll have some great stories because he always does. But the great thing about Ford is they've got pictures of everything going back, way, way back, and they were smart to document all of this all the way along the history of the company. And because I would imagine a lot of companies don't do that, Les. I imagine a lot of companies just are too busy doing what they do, and they don't document.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So we have some great photos to show you, and Ted will be by after the break. So stay tuned to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. He's Les Jackson. We will be right back.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staub and Les Jackson, and we are joined by our friend Ted Ryan, who is he controls the archives at Ford. I'll just say that. Ted, welcome back. You've got some more history to share with us, Ford history. And as I was saying before the break, you're so lucky to have all of these archives, because I don't know if other companies document it as well as Ford has done throughout the years. I mean, it's endless. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe other companies do it, but they don't share it. But certainly Ford seems to have captured a lot of their history.
We did. We've got a great archives. There's about 300 of the Fortune 500 that have archivists and have programs that are active and preserve their history like that. But Ford's strength is our document collection, 16,000. I don't think I've ever given you our stats, 16,000 cubic feet of documents that we store on 3 miles of shelving, and then 3.5 million photos. And that's the real gem of the collection.
Wow.
The product development goes in the document collection, and then the photos of every single clay of every single car that we made from 1946 on.
That is amazing. That's
just
wow.
We just got to go there and spend a week
going through that. Well, today we're talking a little bit about something different. It is a factory in Chicago, and it is marking 100 years of continuous service, which is pretty amazing. That doesn't happen often in the automotive world, does it?
No, it doesn't. In fact, the Chicago is unique even in the Ford system, that while the Rouge is older, the Rouge built boats and tractors and parts that were then shipped to Highland Park, where they were assembled to make the Model Ts. So the Chicago plant is the oldest continuously operating vehicle manufacturing plant in the Ford system, and one of the few in the world. So the Chicago actually has been making vehicles longer than the Rouge has. So celebrating 100 years with Chicago is a huge deal. And it's a doozy of a plant, too. I'll tell you what, designed by Kahn, the noted industrial designer. It sits right at the confluence of the river and the railroad, Calumet River and the railroad, making it easy to get wood from the UP and parts from the rest of the system. And it's produced a bevy of different Ford vehicles over the years.
Yeah, I would say, Ted, you're probably one of the only people I could just say, so how many different vehicles were produced there? Some were military, Model T.
Yes. It's a who's who list. I'm going to read it to make sure I don't, and I'm not going to list them all, but the Model A, the Model T, the trucks. In fact, the first year, 1924, when it opened, it was one of the major truck manufacturing plants in the Ford system. So the TTs and the trucks, the armored cars, we'll get to them in a minute. But then in the passengers side, the Mercury sedan, the Ford Torino, the Ford Thunderbird, the Ford Granada, the Mercury Cougar, the LTD, Mercury Marquis. I remember those. We had one of those. And then the Taurus. The Taurus is the big one. Chicago's the only plant to build every generation of the Taurus. In fact, they built more than 4 million of them in the course of the years that the Taurus was in production.
Wow. And that was certainly a big development, that vehicle. I remember when it came out, and I was like, it looks like we're looking at the future. But very cool.
You were. It gets denigrated these days, but the good old Taurus with its jelly bean shape and ergonomic design, it was one of the first of the cars that introduced curvature into automotive design outside of Porsche. Porsche always had it, but
true.
Look at the American cars in the late 70s, early 80s, and they're all square headlights, square this, square that.
Yeah.
And the Taurus.
Yeah. I remember seeing a Taurus wagon, and guy looking at it said, it's like a spaceship. Look at this.
Yeah.
Cool, very cool stuff. Well, so let's talk a little bit about the history. Currently, of course, it is still in operation. They're building Explorers and Aviators, right?
Yeah, they are the Explorer and the Aviator. It's exciting news. We just started shipping to customers with all the redesigned Explorer and the redesigned Aviator. So they just started shipping. In fact, some inside baseball. My Explorer is being built in 2 weeks, so I'm excited to get it. I ordered Explorer ST, and I saw the new one. Oh my gosh, the dashboard is beautiful. The interior is great. and it's excited to know those there. The other thing we build there, guys, is we build every police interceptor is built
Wow.
at Chicago, and there's an upfitting partner that's just around the corner from the plant. So we build out the Explorer, and then it's sent to the upfitter, who can then convert it into the police interceptor. And each different jurisdiction that orders can specify how they want it upfitted, what parts they want. So if you see the blue lights behind you in a police interceptor, you can you take your ticket, but know it was built in Chicago.
Wow. Wow. And of course, it's funny when you think of the Blues Brothers in Chicago and police vehicles. I know that wasn't a Ford, but but there you go. But that's neat stuff.
Great line in a movie, though.
Yeah, great line in a movie. And you were talking a little bit about, or we started to talk about some of the things that were built there during World War II, right?
Yes, the M8 and the M20, the armored personnel carrier and the amphibious armored personnel carrier, they built 6,000 of those during World War II, but they built other vehicles during World War II as well. So Chicago is one of the 16 plants in the Ford system that was designated as one of the plants for the Arsenal of Democracy, where they built these armored personnel carriers. And, frankly, by the end of the war, were one of the places where all the Rosies were. So, as the men had been drafted into the service, we had some great images as well showing Rosie the Riveters, and they're building those things. They built airplane engines there. Quite a bit of war material. They shut down in February of 1942 and reopened for civilian production in November of 1945, where the first thing off the line was another Mercury sedan. So the good old Mercuries rolling off the line as we retooled for civilian population.
Yeah, very cool stuff.
When they were building the Army vehicles, was the painting process kind of trimmed down where they didn't have to do as much one color, but
yeah, it was, everything was green.
but even
you didn't have much color selection, but
versus a passenger car, they figured, well, these things aren't going to last very long. There was probably a relaxed spec on the painting.
On the painting, yes, but not relaxed spec on the actual engineering on the vehicles themselves. In fact, one of those that I love to tell too is that out of the engineering on those armored personnel vehicles, the famous Jeep that Ford designed and Willis built the engines for. Most people don't know that, but the actual body shape of the famous World War II Jeep was designed by Ford, and it was a combo effort between Ford and Willis. Willis engine was better. So that same kind of technical engineering, and the same engineers that did that later worked on the Bronco project and the M151A Mutt. So Ford had a strong tradition of engineering and designing vehicles, and for the military.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you said, the list goes on. I mean, in more modern times, of course, it was Taurus and that, but Galaxy was built there, right?
The Galaxy was built there, and then the big old T-Birds of the 70s were built there.
Oh, the four-door.
The Sunliners.
Monsters.
Yeah,
the big ones. I had this mental image of Telly Savalas getting out of an enormous T-Bird, with his Kojak space. And it's an amazing. I actually have my team did a list of every vehicle. It's 15 million plus vehicles that were built in the Chicago plant over the course of those 100 years.
Wow.
So we've been building vehicles here for a long time.
Yeah, and obviously the plant does such a good job that you now have the Explorer, which is a big vehicle on the lineup, and the Lincoln Aviator, which is another big vehicle in the lineup. So, it's hard to believe how many vehicles have gone down the line. And anything super unique that would be like a oddball vehicle that was built there, Ted?
Oddball vehicle. Let's see the Mercury Montego. Who remembers that one?
That had the rear window, right? That you could crank down, didn't it?
It did, yes. Yeah, it did. My favorite ones are the ones from the 50s where they were, and then later the 60s and 70s, the Mercury Marquis, the Granada, the Torino. The bread and butter of the Ford lineup for a family. Those were the family cars. When I was growing up, we had a Torino, and then we had a Granada, and then we had the Marquis. It was like Dad was picking up the chain of the different you know passenger vehicles for a family. So, but 15 million vehicles, and the best thing is that no plant's going to last for 100 years unless you make upgrades. So in 2019 we invested $1 billion in Chicago, and that's what is allowing us to build and ship these Explorers and the Aviators and the Police Interceptors now. And I was just there. There was a whole lot of we did the actual anniversary for the plant was in March. But we did a big family event last weekend, and they had 9,000 family employees and family members at the plant. It was just amazing to see everybody celebrating Chicago.
Yeah, well, Ted, well, we appreciate it. We know you have a great event today, so we're going to let you roll out of here and have to have you back for some more Ford history. How's that sound?
That sounds good. And next time I won't be in a hotel room. I'm in a hotel room in Anaheim, California right now. So realizing I should have cleaned up the table behind me. But that's great. We got to talk history, which is fun.
It looks fine, and we appreciate it, and definitely we'll have you back soon. So have a good event today.
Thanks,
we'll leave it at that. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thanks.
Cruise Control.
And we're coming back after Ted gave us a quick tour of the Chicago plant and mentioned the Ford police interceptors are made there. Let's talk about those interceptors because there's a lot of engineering in these things.
Yeah, I mean, as Ted was saying, the engineering comes from the fact that they can be upfit easily, and there is a lot of technology, a lot of safety technology. This is still one of the vehicles that can take a 75 mile an hour hit, and people inside it can survive it. Isn't that crazy?
That's incredible.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the new technology that's in the police interceptor. You can get 3 different engines. You can get a 3.3 liter direct injected V6 with hybrid, which is very popular, 318 horsepower, a 3.3 liter V8 gas engine with 285, or the top of the range 3 liter EcoBoost all-wheel drive with 400 horsepower. They've got a 12.3 inch digital instrument cluster, manual police pursuit mode. With a push of a button, the steering wheel activation button allows officers to easily put the vehicle into a high-performance tuning configuration without taking their hands off the wheel. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then a standard police perimeter alert system. That means if someone's walking up behind the vehicle, it will alert them that and will actually close the windows, lock the doors, which is interesting. Police dark car feature to help law enforcement remain discreet during a stakeout. Let's see, it also has buttons on the steering wheel that can be programmed for various uses that you can program them yourself. I like that idea for a regular car to be able to.
Actually, I do too.
I think there's 4 buttons and you can make it probably turn on the lights or bloop the siren or whatever they deem necessary. I also like the black steel wheels. I always like that look. So it is neat that those are produced in the Chicago plant, and that's pretty much the standard police car. I mean, I don't think there are any more police sedans available with the Dodge Charger going away, so everything is an SUV.
Yeah, I think that's over.
Yeah.
And SUV, and of course, these are not inexpensive, and they're not inexpensive to run in fuel. But,
yeah. Well, the hybrid version is I think that saved people a lot of gas because let's face it, what do police vehicles do? They idle a lot on the side of the road with their lights on. So, I think it's interesting stuff, interesting technology. So let's talk a little bit about Subaru, and this has to do with a gentleman that was out in on a trail with a Subaru, and you know how well Subarus do. He was out with a Crosstrek, right? And he was stopped by the National Park Service because he's a Subaru that goes by the handle Great Big Dog 69. He was at a trail on Canyonlands National Park in Utah, and he was going through it without issue, and he got stopped by the rangers there because they said that vehicle is not set up to be on this trail. This actually is an article from Road and Track. And he said you have to leave the trail because further violations could lead up to a $5,000 fine and up to 6 months imprisonment. But they're determining it by saying that it has to be a 4-wheel drive vehicle with a transfer case. So, but you look at what the Crosstrek can do. I believe, I don't know the trail, but I would say it can handle a lot of off-roading. I don't know whether it was a wilderness model or not that he was driving, but you and I have been in Subarus that have gone through incredible
I think it would take an awful lot of four-wheel drive to do better.
Yeah. I mean, are they going? Were these things like the Rubicon or something, where you're climbing
I don't
rocks
know.
and things? But to me, I mean, it's maybe the rules need to go on a vehicle specific situation. You and I have been in the. I remember being in an Outback, and the mud was up to the belt line of the doors, and it just kept going.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing. It looked terrible afterwards, but
I went through over 20 inches of snow in one.
Yeah.
And it hopped up on the snow like a rabbit. And
Yes.
just kind of,
Yeah, they're like a little animal that just keeps climbing
Yeah.
through it, like a little mule or something that just keeps stepping through it. So I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, that's always been a debate in the automotive industry: all-wheel drive versus four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive to me typically means like a Jeep. Yeah, you got a transfer case, you got shifters, you got to throw it down, throw it into it. All-wheel drive, symmetrical all-wheel drive. That's what Subaru has, but it works really well. So,
yeah, I would have to see the course.
Yeah, but that's a huge fine, don't you think? I mean, I don't think in the case of this person, he was like, okay, fine, I'll drive back the trail and get off the trail. But yeah, that's kind of excessive. $5,000 in 6 months. Do you really have to put someone in jail for that? I don't know.
Seems, yeah. What are you in for? Murder. What are you in for?
Oh, I drove an all-wheel drive vehicle. I doubt a lot of people get jail time for that unless you do it all the time and create a big.
You're very hostile and
Yeah.
you know.
In this case, apparently he's like, okay, how do I get off the trail? What should I, where do I go? I didn't know, so interesting though. But all-wheel drive versus four-wheel drive. I think it depends. I don't think you can make a big, sweeping statement on these things. It's different for vehicles. Other vehicles, it has to do with ground clearance and all kinds of things.
There's a lot of nuance.
A lot of nuance to it. You and I have been surprised by several vehicles that we took off-road that worked a lot better than you expected, right? They used to call them soft off-roaders. And some worse, yes. Some worse. Some that you thought would be very good were not good at all, because of the tire choice.
We pulled it out with a little tiny, what was that, a little four-wheel drive, was it like a Subaru Brat or something?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, so it probably depends on the driver. It depends on the tires. It depends on, as I said, the height, the all kinds of things. So, but I'm still a fan of Subarus because I think they will go through a lot before they get stuck. I don't think they really get stuck. That I've, they're just quite capable. They have all the best benefits of a large, four-wheel drive vehicle, but without being four-wheel drive, right? Right. So good stuff. But just an interesting story. What do you think? All-wheel drive versus four-wheel drive. It seems like the lines have been blurred these days. That it's not clear cut, And there are a lot of vehicles that are saying, "Oh, hey, we're tough. We've got black wheels. We've got an extra inch of ground clearance," and maybe they're not so tough, but then there are others that might be tough. So I don't know. I think it's hard to put a rule on it. So, but there you have it. Hey, coming up on Cruise Control, we're going to look at the price Dodge put on the brand new Dakota, which is a big price. So we'll talk about that and more. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We are going to see you down the road.
Bye.